Hello, cosmic lovers. I am so excited to introduce you to an incredible artist, a true muse, a brand alchemist, a conscious leadership mentor, an international facilitator, a breathtaking, deeply soul touching poet, and a musician, Emma Marshall. Hello.
Wow, what an introduction.
Bam, bam, bam. It is such a pleasure to connect with you. I missed weaving with you and your artistry that is so deeply inspiring. And so I'm really excited to see where today is going to take us.
Yes.
I want to say that, yeah, I just want to ask you first and foremost where you're at and what's moving through you these days.
Mm, wow. First of all, so many things. Full spectrum. I'm
Mm.
currently in my childhood bedroom in New York, outside of Manhattan. And yeah, I came home for my mom's birthday, and my birthday is actually tomorrow. So getting to celebrate with family and childhood friends. And then I fly back to LA in 2 days to move out. I decided to officially move out of my parents' home for the first time rather than just being a nomad with all my stuff here back in October. And the
Mm.
second I did it, my body was like, "You're not ready to settle, girl. What are you doing?" But I just, you know, did the thing. I decided to not really fully listen to my intuition, which time and time again, I am taught that we need to listen. But it was a journey. I met such incredible people. I lived in a magical home, but the entire time my body was just kind of saying no. My knees were really hurting. I was experiencing a lot of pain and inflammation and exhaustion. And just there were many small but mighty signs that I wasn't meant to be there. And
Mm.
then the fires started in LA and they got up to a mile away from my house, really, really close to my home. There were times when I thought my home might burn down. And so that felt like energetically and physically, because of the air quality, LA was like, sayonara. And so I'm moving out, moving my stuff back in here, returning to nomading. And that feels really liberating. I feel free,
Mm.
not tied to rent and the car payment and all the things. I'm just like, I can do as I wish. And the world once again feels like my oyster. And I'm very excited. Feeling like that spark is back, also stepping into my new year of life. And it just, yeah, super excited for the adventure and to see what comes through.
Wow, so much freshness. And as you're stepping through these big transitions in a way, I wonder if there's like a word or an image, a sound, maybe even a symbol that you feel like is representing that or supporting you as you move through these cycles.
Yeah, I mean, I think especially with the state of LA and like everything that just happened, the Phoenix feels really symbolic.
Mm.
So many people who lost their homes and
Yeah.
this whole beautiful city is in complete destruction. There's so much of it is. And it feels as though the only way through is to rise from the ashes. Like we're not going to let it bring us down, but we're
Mm.
going to let us become even brighter and more powerful and more ourselves through the burning and the shedding of the layers. So I feel like I've been constantly dying and being reborn this entire year. And it's been a really challenging and one of the most profoundly magical years of my life.
Mm.
And I'm also feeling like that Phoenix energy, like I'm about to come back really bright after this cocooning of winter.
Ooh, wow, okay, feeling this deeply. And as you know, one of my artistry is weaving these different systems of energy that kind of allow us to peek into the core energetic pillars, the colors and the structures of our soul missions, our soul imprint that came to weave through this physical reality. And I have your charts open, your astrology chart, your human design body graph, as well as your gene keys. And I love how you straight away brought through the phoenix, which is one of the symbolisms for your Scorpio rising, which is the same as me, almost the same degrees actually, which explains why every time time that I was in your presence in Portugal, where we met in this wild community, every time that I was around you, I felt this deep sense of safety and sisterhood, that no matter how much time we spent together, like we didn't have to, but there was just like this deeper sense of understanding and softening that arose in my body. And I think that usually happens when you connect with people who are at peace with themselves, who have this sense of inner fire, which is what we just talked about, which you just brought through, that gives you this ability to process life, to move life, to keep kind of this momentum going and not get stuck in yeah, in inner stagnation or in these deeper places of darkness, but kind of keep transmuting it. And I imagine with a Scorpio rising that you had to move through quite many of these of this what portals, let's call them portals, let's be new age woo woo and reclaim the spiritual words for what they truly represent. And so I would love to know, as you kind of stepped into this role of leading and guiding other healers, entrepreneurs, artists, creatives to step into more of their soul artistry, how did your path to reclaiming these gifts of yours look like?
Hmm. Wow. One of my favorite stories and journeys to share because it's crazy how powerful our perspective is and how
Mm,
much autonomy we have over how we view ourselves in our lives. And I'm the firmest believer that everything is how you perceive it. Like you
mm,
can create heaven on earth, you can create hell on earth, you can have a horrible time, you can have an amazing time. And I know I speak obviously from a place of privilege of where I was born in this world. And I recognize not everyone has the same capacity. But if you are living in conditions where you have any sense of safety, and autonomy, freedom, then it is an inner journey. It is the inner work. And
mm,
so for me, it was really a reclamation of not being a victim, like letting go of victimhood and realizing that I was in control. And so my childhood, my teenagehood, young adulthood was all very much closed throat chakra, deeply afraid of being seen, but really loud, like closed throat chakra, but so loud, so expressive, just not in the true ways, like
mm,
I would be loud to take up space. I would go out to take up space because I was convinced that if I wasn't loud and constantly present, I would be forgotten. I needed to be seen, but I wasn't actually showing the world my real self. I was drinking so much. I was partying so much. I was seeking male validation so much. Yeah, but I was just like behind this concrete wall of masks. So no one actually knew who I was. I just did whatever felt like the status quo, what would make me fit in, what would make me be accepted by my peers and the people around me. And it
mm,
wasn't until I studied abroad at the University of Sydney in Australia, my junior year of college, when I guess I had just turned 21 years old,
mhm,
that I landed on the opposite side of the world and had this big realization of, whoa, nobody knows me. Am I going to put on a mask for strangers? Or what would it be like if I tried to be myself? Who
mm.
am I? It was this, to me, it's the first time I can remember really being like, who am I? I
Wow.
remember like I'd start to have little pings of like, I was a huge stoner in high school and I'd be like, I don't even like this. Like, I don't even like this feeling, but it's cool. All the cool kids are doing it. It
Mm,
gives me an edge. It makes me different. It makes me look like I don't give a fuck. So I
mm,
did it, but I remember the voice in my head being like, this sucks the whole time. But otherwise, it was when I got to Australia that I had this first like, whoa, who do I want to be? Like I can choose. And I remember at the time, like huge, scary leaps of expression were like dyeing my hair pink and getting my septum pierced. Like I was so afraid of expression. And I dyed my hair pink and I got my septum pierced. And I was like, I'm free. I'm free. And then
yeah.
I I ended up going to Byron Bay. I stayed at this hostel called the Arts Factory. very, very, very hippie, very rooted in the earth. I didn't brush my hair for 2 months or look in a mirror or, dance parties on the beach every night. And it was just so, yeah, I woke up. I was like, oh my God, I'm a human. It was my spiritual awakening, if you will.
Mm,
I realized I was alive. I realized I had autonomy. I promised myself I would never work in an office a day in my life, and I
mm.
haven't. So thank
Congratulations.
you. And I could go on for hours on this story, but ultimately, it was the realization that the masks were only hurting me and hurting the people who would actually love me if they got to know
Mm,
the real me. And it's been a
mm,
slow and steady unraveling of this need to be perfect, this need to be a certain way, this need to fit in, and a reclamation of my voice and my inner experience being enough just as I am. So it's still a journey that I'm on. I don't know if it'll ever end, but I feel after that, I, for the first time, had a grasp on like, I don't have to hide to please anyone else. And that's the biggest part of my mission right now is like, you do not need to hide who you are to fit into a mold society convinced you you're meant to be a part of. Like, your unique essence is the most potent thing about you. And if we were
mm.
all truly in that, what a magical, magical world we would live in.
Amen, sister. Speaking right to the heart, yes. And it's so interesting to like take in this story because I feel like one way or another, I imagine most of us have gone through a version of this, of, trying to find our path, find our way in the world, and this deeper longing to belong and to be accepted, to be loved, and all of the weird strategies, especially as teenagers and early adults, young adults, we go through. And just looking at your chart, I see so many beautiful points that kind of demonstrate this path or this deeper vision that is guiding you in the way that you're showing up, especially with the sun in Aquarius, which is all about embracing your individuality and your true expression of authenticity in ways that serve something bigger and greater to kind of embody a message that is here to initiate the world, the society in new ways of being where everyone can kind of be who they truly are and how that creates a new sense of synergy in the world. But then again, with this Scorpio kind of diving into the raw, into the painful, oftentimes, and going through the extremes in this rebellious reclamation. I also see how, with your Mercury conjunct your moon in Capricorn, you are here to build legacy through this, in a way, feminine lens of experiencing your vulnerability through this natural expression that is then also able to build roots in ways that, yeah, pave the path. And so, in the light of the Aquarius season, which is when we're recording this, and your stellium in Aquarius, meaning that you are a rebel here to disrupt the existing structures, I would love to know what is this vision that is guiding you in your work, in your life as a creator, a mentor, and an artist? And a woman, let's say.
Um, Such beautiful questions. I would
Mm,
say on the collective level, it's my wish for all humans, but I feel really resonant with women. I love women. My mission feels really intertwined with women. So when I
mm,
say women, of course, I mean all beings. But
mm,
in my particular journey, I feel my dharma is to work with women. And on the collective level, my vision is a world where, first of all, the powers that be are permitting us to be free, or
mm,
the powers that be aren't in a place where they need to permit us to be anything. Let's say that, where we actually have the freedom to fully express and be who we are globally.
mm,
Um, yeah, a world in which women do not feel shamed by their sensuality or their sexuality or their bodies or their expression or their voices, a world in which women feel safe to be seen and heard and expressed and loud and messy and in their rage and full spectrum.
mm,
And yeah, where they recognize and remember that their artistry is innate and that they're worthy of being artists and that it's not about how it looks or how good they are, but just the fact that we are here to be creators because women are the ultimate source of creation. We are literally portals to life. And
Mm,
so, yeah, that is my vision for humanity. My vision for myself is just to be as unbelievably free as possible, to not have to
mm,
rely on anyone or anything outside of me. Obviously, in an interdependent way, I believe we thrive in community, but to not to be so sovereign in my wealth, in my abundance, in my capacity to receive, in my daily choices, in my creative expression. I just want to feel as free as possible in any given moment to make whatever choice feels best for me,
mm,
and not need to have to like question or second guess myself based on things outside of me, to just have this deep inner wisdom and trust and knowing that I'm on the right path because I'm making the choices for myself every
mm.
day. They're really interconnected, my vision for humanity and my vision for myself. But
Mm. Just taking a moment to invite you into a juiciness that has been brewing in Cosmic Aspirations field. If this conversation has been whispering to your muse and tickling the artist inside of you that wants to create art out of your daily life, to step into this ritualistic approach to your shadows, your challenges, your dreams and visions, to actually bring those wild ideas brewing in your heart to life and to infuse your everyday with magic of your soul essence that allows you to start flowing with much more ease and magnetism, attracting the right things to you, then Live Muse is for you. A 9-week creative journey into your soul artistry, guided by the wisdom of your gene keys, the keys to your creative genius. If you're interested, there's a link in the show notes, and I will tell you more about it at the end of this episode. So,
like freedom, expression, safety, like deep, deep, deep self-love and inquiry, trust, like the I think it'd be a really pleasant world if we all just like gave ourselves permission to be who we are and not, yeah, need it to be perfect or need it to be the way someone else does it. Also, a big part of my vision is a world where we can disagree and still get along, I would say.
oh,
You
that's a big
know?
one.
Like, can we have different opinions and like still love each other? I don't know. Apparently not so well right now, but that would be really cool too.
And I think that is actually a big thing that is holding a lot of artists, creators, that is holding them back from sharing their truth. Because, especially in this world of social media, right, with the cancel culture, this fear of being judged, criticized, misunderstood, and also the witch wound that lives in many of that imprint, the inherited trauma of persecution, of literally being ostracized for your gifts, for being your naturally expressed self. And so, as you speak about this freedom, I could ask you, what makes you feel free? And maybe we will gonna get there, but like as two Scorpio risings, I want to know what is maybe something that you are still kind of freeing yourself from, and how does that look in your life if you
Ooh,
go there?
ooh. Huh. Well, I would say on like the most basic level, I feel like the entire lifetime of other voices in my head telling me how I'm supposed to be, and I'd say that's the human condition. You don't have autonomy over anything the first like 10 years of your life, more. I would say like until you start to hit that like puberty point, like you're doing what your parents tell you. I feel like teenagers are the ones who start to rebel. And it's not
Mhm.
just parents, it's social media and it's the government and it's your teachers and it's your peers. So I have like 18, I guess 21 is when I really woke up. I have 21 years of bullshit in my head from people telling me, this is what beautiful is. This is what beautiful
Mhm.
isn't. This is what your creative process is supposed to look like. This is what a good voice sounds like. This is what a bad voice sounds like. This is the path you're meant to take. If you don't have security and stability in a corporate job, you're never going to amount to anything. I have all these voices in my head, and I've gotten pretty good at not listening to them. And I would say my voice is my true voice is the strongest these days. But I still look in the mirror and some days I'm like, wow, Emma, you're fat. And I'm like, what is
Who
this
said
bull?
that? Yeah.
Like, says who? Says who? You know? Not me.
And what helped you shift that?
What helped me shift that? In this season, other women.
Mm,
Like actually getting to witness and social media has been such a gift in that way. Witnessing women in their power, it's not something I grew up with. And as I have stepped into adulthood, I've been super, super, super blessed by really powerful women entering my life and getting to witness them. I
yeah.
would say inner child healing, of course, connecting with little Emma. Like
Mm,
little Emma could and did eat enough junk food to feed like multiple villages, and I would just tell her you're perfect and gorgeous, and like maybe would like spark a gentle conversation around what it means to tend to our temple, but would never call her fat, would never judge her, would never shame her. So why am I doing it to my adult self?
hmm hmm.
um
So cultivating a relationship with all of these voices and parts within. And then
yeah,
also like any healthy relationships, also deciding what are the boundaries that we're gonna set. Also with the external voices that live rent free in our minds.
100%. And I would even say where we met at the garden, like
Mhm.
to I think, and not that you necessarily need to go to this space, although I would definitely recommend it. Um, Everyone was naked and it was not weird. And we could
Mm,
go to the pool or the lake and not wear clothes, and no one's sexualizing each other and
mm,
no one's shaming the most innate thing about us. And, we could talk about many different topics of where we get instilled with conditioning that's nonsense. But I think one of the deepest core wounds we have as a society is that our bodies have become sexualized.
mhm,
Like, innately, there's nothing sexual about a body. It's the
mm,
most beautiful, natural thing there is. And I think so many of the other problems we face in society come from a disconnect from the naturalness of our bodies. And so putting yourself in environments where no one gives a shit what you look like and no one's looking at you with like beady eyes thinking about whatever, like it's just natural. It's just like, oh yeah, this is how we're supposed to be.
mm,
And so that was actually a really big supporter for me around the body image, around self-love, around these like core wounds that a lot of humans have, but I feel like women specifically have been, body hair, like all these
mm.
conversations just so normal when you don't make it weird or you don't bring society's input into it and you remember what's actually true.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like communities can be big portals of alchemy when it comes to these kind of things because there are so many mirrors there all at once, so many different people, weirdly unique and beautiful in their own way. And it's really like an incubator for you to meet so many different parts of yourself through these different, yeah, mirroring experiences. And as a Scorpio rising and a chicken motherfucker, like I've always had this, I would say, sexual aura around me where I make sexual jokes. I make a lot of sexual noises, but they're like noises of pleasure for being alive and being in my body. And it's nothing necessarily sexually inviting or projecting around that. It's literally just that natural expression of my being,
Yeah.
and how the systematic repression of that has literally started to not only take us away from our gifts, from our authentic expression, our empowerment, but also from our creativity in a way, right? And how like the systematic schooling system has been grooming us to fit in and to be more like that. And when you fit in and meet the standards that we are asking you to embody and perform, then you will be rewarded and get the abundance, recognition, success that you should all strive for. And so yeah, it's a big path of that reclamation. Um, but also, how do you see the sexuality then being tied with your creative liberation?
Mm. Well, if you look at energy centers,
Mm.
the sacral chakra, which is the womb area,
Mm.
is, the center for your creative channel. It's where we're meant to have that open pathway to the divine, to
Mm.
source, to spirit, to God, whatever you want to call it. That comes from our womb, and it makes sense. Like that is where we are birthing life. It's where
Mm.
we're literally creating humanity. And so I believe it's very intrinsically linked to our creative expression. Think about if you are carrying years of sexual shame or trauma or disconnect from your womb,
Mm.
you are blocking and closing and shutting off that connection to the divine. And it's something I'm still working on as someone who's had a lot of not less than pleasant sexual, sensual experiences, less than pleasant relationships around sexuality, and deeply ingrained stories around shame. And, the all of it being called a slut and a whore, and like having your experience watched with beady eyes from everyone around you, and how cool it is for a guy to sleep around, and if a woman does, it's disgusting and gross, and not a high value woman. And there's all these stories in
Mm.
society, especially coming from the church, of telling us that you have sex before marriage and you go to hell. Like there's all these, it's a really warped world we live in. And so I I still feel like I'm on a journey of reclaiming my, and I don't even call it like sexuality. It's like sensuality. It's not about sex. It's about relating to pleasure and sensation and the full spectrum of the human experience. Because I think one of the best ways to open your sacral isn't through pleasure, but through rage, and like getting yourself
Mm.
to experience the fullness of rage or the fullness of grief. And I think it's separating the fact that it's about sex. Like, obviously, that has a big piece here, but it's not the point. Like, you were speaking of these noises you make and these jokes you make. Like, to me, that's sensation. That's like
Mhm.
sensing and
Mhm.
experiencing and speaking to or vocalizing your
Letting
senses.
life move through you in a way and not
Exactly.
holding back. And this is where, like, right, when we hold back from just allowing our sensual experience of life to touch us, how is that then also reflecting in other areas of our lives where we hold ourselves back from, yeah, this fear of being shamed, being misunderstood, being judged? Um, Yeah, and it's interesting to look at your gene keys because in your sphere of evolution, which is that trigger point, that kind of shadow experience that keeps nudging from your environment, especially because you have line 5 here, which is all about creating impact in the world on a wider scale. And it's a line of projection, meaning that oftentimes, as much as you bring this powerful wisdom and creative, practical solutions to people, to the world in a way that shifts the way people behave in the world. Um, you can be met with a lot of projections with line 5, where people kind of see what they want to see, what they need in that moment. And the shadow here in your evolution is literally division, right? This constant separation that also makes us feel like, oh, it's not enough. It's either this or that. And even before, when you were talking about the visual aspect of the body, how we look, how much division is there made in our sense of worth, and the comparison that happens, and how the healing aspect of the sisterhood that you mentioned is, I feel like, that big reclamation back into, yeah, this naturalness of our being, the virtue that is there. Because your gift of evolution, as you experience this division, is in the gift of guidance. How
Mm.
everything that you've been experiencing is here to guide you back to your true life's work, to your um, yeah, to your sense of wholeness. And from there, in your life's work sphere, it's an interesting one. The gene key of discernment. Discernment that is actually all about what is true, what is not true. Not from the sense of the logical mind, the lens of the society, but from the portal of the heart,
Mm.
Where actually everything for you that you do, the way you guide people, is about listening through the heart. And the highest expression of that is the frequency of empathy. Empathy towards yourself, empathy towards others, empathy towards those who are projecting and not able to truly see or hear. And I wonder, how do you see these energies interwoven in your artistry, in your work, and in your life?
Hmm. So beautiful. I think, yeah, I have a really strong resonance with being able to put yourself in someone else's shoes. And I think it goes back to
Mm,
what I was speaking about around having differing opinions and belief systems and
mm,
cohabitating within that,
mm,
loving each other through that. And it's to me one of the most problematic aspects of being alive is that we've become, and I love sensitivity. Sensitivity is a superpower. I am a highly sensitive being, but
mm,
sensitivity around your self concept being so fragile around your belief systems that you feel threatened or harmed by someone having a different one, I think is incredibly, incredibly harmful to our society. I think it's one of the most debilitating experiences we've had as a collective where
mm,
we are not giving each other space to disagree or have various viewpoints. Like, and I used to be defensive. Of course, it's natural in this world. Maybe it's not natural at our core, but it's natural with the society we live in to get defensive because we've been taught to like hold strong with our ego. Like our belief is true. We have to be right, or what? We'll die. I don't know. That's what we kind of convince
yeah.
ourselves, or we'll be outcasted or abandoned or rejected. And these are core wounds. So I understand that.
Mm.
But to be able, I was a vegan for 3 years and I was the worst vegan you could ever imagine. I was such an asshole.
I
I
think all vegans go through that.
literally, I was like,
Mm.
animal killers, like screaming at people. And then I stopped being vegan. I started eating meat and I put my tail between my legs and I said, okay, well, I was wrong. And that was hard for me. And then I started eating meat and I was like, veganism sucks. Vegan, like I literally went from one dog to the next. And then finally I was like, what if I don't know shit?
Mm.
What if I only know what's true for my body?
Oof.
And nothing else has anything to do with me. How
Yeah.
could I possibly tell you what's best for you? I could invite you into tools and mindsets and beliefs that might open your mind, but I can't tell you that I know what's best for you. It's a lie. In no reality is it true that I know what's best for your body. Doesn't matter if you're the best doctor in the world, the best psychiatrist on earth, like nobody will ever know what's best for you truly more
Mm.
than you do when you get the stories, the conditioning out and you learn to tap into your intuition. Obviously, you're not going to know what's best for you if your mind is flooded with everyone's external beliefs and circumstances for you. But if you get to that intuitive, deeply connected state to your
Mm.
body, you are the wisest teacher you will ever have. And so I think
Yeah.
with that sense of empathy, it's like knowing that I don't know what's best for you. And I can see that you believing or knowing what's best for you is your truth and it has nothing to do with me. And I don't need to be offended by it. And it doesn't affect my sense of self. It's completely separate from me. And I can love it just as if it's my own without attaching to it because it's not my business. And I think that's the ultimate sense of freedom. Like
Oh,
your business is yours, mine is mine. I don't need to get worked up or defensive or offended or like you any less just because we see the world differently. We can coexist peacefully. And for some reason, the world doesn't want to take that on as true, but it's true. We see it in smaller communities and the people we relate with when we lead from that open hearted space,
mm.
when we make choices from the heart, like you mentioned. It's really easy to love everyone despite who they are, what they believe. Like your religion has nothing to do with me. Your choice of diet has nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
You respect me, I respect you. It's easy, or it should be.
And personally, I do believe that this is the world we're moving into. It's the only thing is that right now we're really being faced with everything that's not working. It's like that deep purge out of everything that's nasty underneath. And so it's more in our face, especially with the stream of information available to us these days through all of the platforms. But I really, really trust that this is where we're moving into, and especially in this age of Aquarius, which I don't really, again, I very much resonate with what you're saying. To me, there is no ultimate truth that the mind can really grasp. There are concepts, there are ideas, there are storylines that we get to play with, that we get to take on and see everything around us as life offering sparks of inspiration for us to, like, little opportunities for us to taste and experience ourselves through that lens of reality or whatever it is. And this is where we're stepping into the world where artists, creatives, um, conscious creators, I think, are stepping forward more and more. And this is where this tool of our, or the power, the medicine of our own intuition is going to be our biggest ally, especially with the stream of misinformation and fake news and AI being able to generate and produce the mirror of any kind of reality one can code it with. So, and you actually opened up this conversation with, oh, like I wasn't fully honoring my intuition then, with certain decisions, because sometimes we gotta go around, we gotta fuck around to find out, and that is super valuable. But how do you experience, how do you know when it's the voice of your intuition versus when you're pushing something for your own sense of fulfillment?
Mm. I think more than anything, the body responds. And if you can tune into sensation, and this is another piece of my mission in this world, is resensitizing. So, to give an example, I used to be so angry when I would see people who could like eat McDonald's every week and have perfect skin. Now, if I eat McDonald's once, I'm breaking out. Now I see what a gift that my body is so sensitive to tell me when I'm doing something that it doesn't like. Like the
Mm.
second I start eating in a certain way or I'm dysregulated, my body responds. In LA, my knees were super inflamed. The second I landed in Panama, my knees were no longer inflamed.
Do you
So
know spiritually what knees represent?
I don't. I mean, I know I have Lyme, so I got bit by a tick. So like that inflammation was from a bacteria, and I know that there's an energetic imprint on everything. I haven't looked into it. I'm gonna do that after this.
I
This,
can tell
you
you.
know,
They said the knees represent the ego. So in a way,
um,
you're trying to move in a direction that you're trying to gain something that is not from the heart. You're trying to move in a direction that doesn't really support your soul service, but you think you have to do it for some kind of sense of fulfillment.
that is literally, I feel like the representation of LA, and not to bash on LA. It's a beautiful, beautiful city, and I met such amazing people. So on point. So on point.
Mm.
I knew going there that my intention was like to thrive in my business and to like make music and try to like infiltrate
Mm.
the matrix of it. And I think it's a beautiful thing to be able to infiltrate the matrix and use it to support you, you know? I'd love to get my
Mm.
music into the hands of like big names while simultaneously not letting it get distorted and like losing my magic and my expression. So there's
Yes.
like a balance there. But
But
yeah, that
you see, in this is such an interesting one because oftentimes there are certain systems that, as business owners, as entrepreneurs, whatever, artists, we feel like we need in order to thrive, in order to succeed. And there are these certain hubs or just things that we were told that are gonna work. And so we try to follow that. And to some extent, of course, there are certain things that are literally going to support us no matter how much resistance we might have at first. Because the question is, what are we truly resisting in that? But then when we go against our nature, when we go against the deeper knowing in our bones, when we don't know how our energy naturally expresses in the most powerful and effortless ways, and we try to fit into this external mm, brackets, usually that's when life starts redirecting us in slightly harsher ways. Because I'm looking at your designs here and I'm like, girl, as long as you just express yourself effortlessly and allow your voice to weave, you don't need to be in hubs. You just need to let yourself move with the most delicious way, allow yourself to be recognized, and that's where the things, especially as a generator type, come to you. And how
I
often we feel like we need to go somewhere to receive what we're looking for.
100%. I'm such a big fan of feminine receptivity. And
Mm.
there's a delicate balance. And this is another big theme that I speak on. Like sometimes you do need to go and do the thing to get what you want. Like
Mhm.
it's not just a complete sit back and wait. And I know projectors are a bit different, but at least for me, like I'm not just like a sit around and wait. And I've never had to force anything to work out for me. The most magical things have always unfolded effortlessly, so long as I show up for the opportunity, you
Mm.
know? That was, posting on social media. It's a big part of what I do is creating the content, sharing it online. Everything else has kind of found its way to me. I put myself out there through my expression and I receive in return. And I feel, especially for women, but all beings, like there's such a, I mean, we live in the age of hustle culture. Everyone's obsessed with working 40 plus hours a week to get the things they want. And actually, in our natural state, we are so magnetic. We are incredibly magnetic. And it's just, yeah, stripping away the aspects of us that are masked or not us or conditioned and allowing our true expression to come through. And then, so much receptivity comes our way from that state. I really believe it. I've seen it time and time again. Like we're meant to receive the things meant for us. And typically we are our own biggest roadblock from those things finding us.
Mm. Mhm. Yeah, and especially when it comes to artists, I feel like there's this starving artist archetype, and who's gonna want to get my stuff and gift, and there's so much noise out there. Where do I fit in that? Like, I just want to start maybe at the basics. Like, what makes one an artist, in your opinion?
Well, first and foremost, what makes someone an artist, in my opinion, is the fact that you were born. If you if you're breathing, you're an artist, first and foremost. You don't have to do anything. There's no prerequisite to be an artist. You're here, you're an artist. The other thing I would say is artists make art. And that's not to say you need to write songs. That's not to say you need to paint. Walking down the street is an art form. The clothes you put on your body is an art form. The way you view the trees and the grass and the sun, like the way you look at life, the way you speak is an art form. So everything about you is art. And
Mm.
it's, I think, a perspective of like, yeah, I mean, either way, you're an artist, whether you have a perspective of artistry or not. I think the perspective of like living a creative life, like everything you do, life itself being the creative act. I think that's the thing that separates an artist from someone who wouldn't consider themselves an artist is they're not viewing their life as a creative act. And
Mm.
again, people are still artists, they just might not be aware of it. I think
Mm.
when someone's like, I'm not artistic, what does that mean? There's endless, maybe you're not a musician, although again, I think everyone's a musician. It's just like finding their way to express music.
Mm.
I think every single person has the ability to be a masterful artist. Just the majority of people don't take a second of their day to figure out what's their art form.
Mm.
Crazy thought that you're not, you don't have that creative flow in you because we do. We're all coming from the same place. We're all returning to the same place. We are all made of stardust. We are all fragments of the divine. Like whether or not you want to see it this way, that's on you. But like we all have the same capacity to make art. And we've been gifted with different ways in which the art will move through us. But you need to explore. If you don't
Mm.
explore, you're never going to know where your art moves through you. And you don't even need an art form to be an artist.
Mm. What would you say is your artistry that the most inspires and guides you these days?
Well, it's definitely music, singing, my voice. But yeah, that's number one for sure is my voice.
Mm.
And it's not just singing with my voice. It's the way I communicate. It's the way I
Mm.
articulate my thoughts. It's the way I'm able to express something in a way that's digestible and well received and
Mm.
not well received in the way that I need you to like how I said it, but in a way that's understandable. Like I feel they say you're really knowledgeable or like you really have the wisdom when you can express it to a 5-year-old. And I feel like that's another way that I love to share my art is to
Mm.
take complex systems and nuanced topics and things that might not be so easily understood or would be filled with buzzwords, and to make it like so generally easeful to receive and to hear and to take into your experience. So I'd say my voice generally, but
Mm.
like lights me up the most is singing, of course.
And I had a pleasure to witness you basically write the whole album in just a few days in the summer in Portugal. And yeah, that was really impressive. It's almost like something came over you. And I wonder, like, when you feel in your most creative, artistic flow, how does that feel like?
It's so interesting because I think back to it and I can't fully remember what was going on. Like I just
Maybe
remember
that's because it's a trance state, almost like.
yeah, it was definitely flow state. For me, like the things that stand out about that time period were that I was in stunning nature, naked, like no separation from nature, without my phone, like
No
no
distractions.
distractions, and around really inspiring people. And I think that is the recipe. And for me, it was just like I don't even know. Like I look at these songs, I'm like, where did they come from? It's not me. I was just the vessel, you know? It came through me. And I've
Mm,
never had that experience. Obviously, my life experience supported it. But those words came from something bigger than me. And I feel that completely. And I'm so excited for the next journey. Like I haven't really been writing music and
mm.
it's perfect. I wrote 14 songs. Like it's okay if I take a break. I will record those songs. And I'm actually going to record on Saturday in LA when I'm back.
Congratulations.
Thank
But yeah,
you.
I guess I feel like that is a part of what also creates that masterful artistry when it comes from the states beyond, when it's not from the mind, when it's not from the strategy. The real art comes from something much, much deeper than that. When we, yeah, tap into these spaces um, that are so much wider than what our minds could construct. And this is where I know that you also have a special relationship to the muse. What is the muse to you? What does the muse mean, and what place does it have in your life?
The muse. Yeah, to me, it's this ever-present source of inspiration or connection that is bigger than what the eyes can see, that is beyond form. So it's an ever-present relationship to, yeah, creative inspiration. It's
Mm,
whatever is present in your current experience that is informing your creative process.
mm,
And it's ever expanding and it's limitless and it's formless and also in endless forms constantly. So to
mm,
me, like, what's enlivening the artist to be present? And to me, the muse can be nature, the muse can be a lover, the muse can be woman, the muse can be the body, you know, it's endless. The muse could be my grief or anger or the emotion I'm experiencing. The muse
mm,
could be the color of my walls in this room. Like it's just that intangible or sometimes tangible form, but it's this intangible presence that's informing
mm.
art to me.
I guess
And
the intangible thing, from what I gathered, is when you said it's a relationship I built, where you
yeah,
become the bridge between the muse and an artist to kind of create through you.
right. So it's like it can be in form, a person,
Mhm.
a bag, you're looking at a blade of grass, a tree, but it's not the tree that is the muse. It's like the relationship I'm experiencing with the tree that's informing the art.
The experience and
Yeah.
the energy around it that then we get to translate through our unique lens and experience, right? And this is where the muse and the artist kind of merge within you. And this is where the masterpiece that we are kind of comes. And in that sense is where I see what you said. Everyone's an artist. You're born an artist, which is something that I'm a big, big advocate for as well. This awakening to this fact that we all are born artists and what the world would look like if we actually tapped into the artistry of our own hearts and how that would start transforming our society. And that's the vision that I'm holding and bringing through my work as well. Um, But yes, and the space where we allow ourselves to come and play. That's also what I gathered from what you shared of what inspired the whole album that you were able to literally channel there and birth. Is that you gave yourself the right conditions where you were able to listen and where you were able to play with what was.
I think that's such a big piece as well. You know, they say the artist, the adult artist is the child who survived, or some rendition
Mm,
of that. And so I think if you reflect back on when you were young, you see how every aspect of our reality was artistry. We were constantly building houses out of mud and playing in the sand and like creating everything,
mm,
playing house, like dress up, whatever it was. We were constantly informing our reality with art, art, art.
mm,
And then society likes to stifle the little kid within us. And suddenly it's go to work, come home, numb yourself with a glass of wine or TV or whatever your choice is, because your day was so unbearable that you just want to shut your mind off. And where's the creativity in that? I think the killer of creativity is numbness. And
mm.
society is really informing numbness on a mass scale. And that's where we need to resensitize. Full
Yeah.
circle. The more sensitive we are, the more we can sense when we're making a decision from an intuitive place, the more we can sense the muse, the beauty, the magic, the more we can inform our art. So,
The more we create.
resensitizing, resensitizing humanity is the key to birthing or rebirthing, because it's already there,
Mhm.
a world of artists.
Oh, feeling this. It's a reclamation of the body.
Yeah.
It's the reclamation of our nature. Yeah. The muse within. Beautiful. What is something that you wish more artists, creatives knew and practiced?
Mm. Two things come to mind. One, on a practical level, that you can make a ton of money with your art. Like, no starving artist bullshit. Like, that
Mm,
your art deserves to be in the hands of tons and tons of people, and that you can thrive in your artistry
mhm,
on like the practical level. On the impractical level, that there is no destination and that the journey is the magic. That
mm,
you don't need to be better, you don't need to be perfect, it doesn't need to look a certain way. If it feels like your magic, like your channel, like your art, that is so much more than enough. Like,
mm,
the destination, just be in the journey of the art.
I love that. That's that play.
Yeah.
Yeah. Emma, so I hear you're creating an album really soon, which I'm so excited for. Literally, I had your songs in my head for months, and sometimes they still come. It's really the muse singing through and yeah, connecting us to this deeper mystery that we are, that life is, and kind of just like giving a soundtrack to this journey of innocent awe, wonder, and curiosity that I feel like is here to lead us. And yeah, I feel like I really felt the essence of what you are here to empower people into with your work. And I would love to know what else is like alive in your work for those who want to connect with you.
Yes. So yeah, the album is gonna start being created this Saturday. It will be released in 2025. I don't know when,
Mhm.
but it's my goal of the year. Otherwise, I have a group program called Brand Alchemy. It's a 3-month container that supports female brand owners, entrepreneurs, or aspiring brand owners and entrepreneurs, learning, first of all, how to utilize social media to market yourself. We have an incredible tool where you can reach millions of people, learning how to create in alignment with your body, with your menstrual cycle, in a way that's not forceful, simultaneously working with the energetics of the energy centers and overcoming the fear of being seen. It's like a marketing course for spiritual girlies, pretty much. It's a beautiful blend of the energy and the strategy. It's a vibe. You'll come get to vibe with a tribe of epic women. And that's the main piece of work I'm offering right now. I am also creating a membership called the Muse Collective. It's a monthly subscription for female artists who want to tap more deeply into their artistry and get the hell out of their own way. And that'll probably launch in May. If you go to my Instagram, which is just Emma Marshall, you'll see all my offerings there. And I offer a lot of free content. So every day you're getting free value from me. So feel free to check it out there.
The muse speaking through.
Yeah.
Oh, wonderful. This was a real, real delight. I love how basically, what I also gathered is how beautiful of a representation this is of the move, this transition from patriarchy into matriarchy again. That is not in women overpowering and ruling over men, but it is in this beautiful balance of bringing nature, Mama Earth, back into the center of our creations, of our guidance, of our mission for this world. And I love how
Absolutely.
beautifully you embodied that.
Thank you. Yeah, we're meant to be in collaboration and not competition. And that I think is key to many of our problems. Your bigness doesn't make mine any smaller.
Mm. Breathing that in, letting it sink. Thank you so much for weaving with me. And I can't wait to see you and hug you and sing with you and be at your concert and see you bloom in even more of your magical artistic expression.
Thank you so much for having me. And yeah, this was such a treat. And I can't wait to hug you in person back.
If you've been enjoying this conversation and feeling like, yes, my artist, my muse are coming out alive and want to dance, I want to let you know that on February 28th, we are starting a 9-week creative journey into your soul artistry through the guidance of your personal gene keys. It is called Life's Muse that invites you to taste the muses of your life inside and outside of you, to start playing by diving into the core energetics that are fueling your life's purpose, your path of deepest soul evolution, as well as your holistic radiance that unlocks magic to flow into your life and to really root into that true soul purpose that you came here for. Through these 9 weeks, we're going to dedicate 2 weeks for each of the 4 prime gifts of your activation sequence in the gene keys. And this is really a journey that supports you with the toolkit of a lifetime that I have gathered over 10 years of my spiritual path through the trainings of somatic therapy, Egyptian tantra, creative embodiment, deep dive into the cosmic architecture of gene keys, human design, and astrology so that you can really hone into what is your path to focus on. What do you need to work on that allows the rest, the excess, that you maybe are focusing in your life that isn't working, that you keep kind of getting stuck in, to really reattune to that core soul essence inside your body, inside your DNA, that naturally unblocks the road, removes the obstacles, and allows you to really focus on, yeah, what your soul came here to evolve and transform through. This is really about leaning into your soul gifts, into artfully playing with the shadows that are the portal, the doorway into your greatest service, greatest artistry of becoming the artwork yourself by infusing this ritualistic, sacred, devotional way of living into your everyday. It is what I feel so far, my life's work, but not even honing into what has worked for me, but supporting you on creating the space and time to experiment, play, explore, and create, where you don't have to so much focus on what is lacking, what isn't working, but you actually allow your cosmic heart to guide you creations where the transformation becomes almost like effortless, the natural byproduct of you starting to prioritize your pleasure, your artistry, your creative flow, what lights up your heart on fire. So Life's Muse calls, and there is a link in the show notes for you to tap deeper into it. And if you have any questions, I am here. Don't hesitate to get in touch. Much love.